أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم نور قلوبنا صدورنا بنور القرآن والإيمان والإسلام. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me well? It says your connection is not stable. Can you hear me? Anyone?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you. Can you
Thank
pin the
you.
link for the YouTube?
So just give me a second. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for the interruption. Inshallah, we will continue with another discussion on the series that we call Living with Prophets. So Yusuf says, I cannot hear you. So who can hear me, please? Atik says he can hear me. Who else? Adam, can you hear me? Now there are multiple users. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. So you didn't miss anything, don't worry. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. So let's start. We already wasted a lot of time. Sorry for the problems that I had. So let's start with asking the question. So this is about asking for the impossible. So this is the story as narrated in the Quran about the Prophet Zechariah, peace be upon him. We will read this story very shortly. It's a very short story anyway. And we will see that it is about asking something which is not possible, or at least apparently not possible. And hence the title, Asking for the Impossible. So let's start with discussing what do you understand from impossible or possible? What is possible or what is impossible for you? Just in general. Let's see, how people see the reality, how how you think something is possible or impossible. Sorry, I'm having some difficulty talking today. So when you understand from possible or impossible, it doesn't have to be religious. Anything in your life, anything you think is possible, you think is not possible. You can also use the chat. No, okay, Yusuf, please go ahead. Thank you.
So it was, well, there are things that are near impossible. I mean, there are definitely things that are impossible for me, like flying or walking over the water. But I guess practically speaking, there are things which I consider to be very, very unlikely or very hard to achieve. These are generally the things that I ask for. But even when I'm asking, I feel like it's going to be very, it's very far away from me. It would be better if it happens, but if it doesn't happen, I will understand it. I'm going to accept it. So I guess a practical example for that would be, since it's a milestone in everybody's life, marriage might be a milestone, because let's say you are coming to a certain age, you were maybe not successful finding the right person so far, and eventually you become more and more uneasy about it. You are losing your hope. It's not going to really happen. So this sort of a feeling kicks in, saying that, well, it looks like I will not be able to have this. Or I guess every other day in graduate school becomes as if as you try to run towards the target is running twice as fast in the other direction, or at least this is how it feels. So these are the things that seem to be very hard, if not impossible. So yeah, these are some examples that comes to my mind.
Jazakallah khairan, can you also give an example which you truly believe, think that is impossible, that this cannot be happened to me, or I like such thing, but come on, don't fool yourself, it's not possible. I'm sure we all have such things in
I
mind.
guess in my case it might be, well, like being a full professor in a university such as you yourself is. I think this is not possible for me, honestly speaking. Like, let's say being a professor in University of Pennsylvania is something that I consider to be truly impossible for myself. I hope my boss is not listening this recording.
Okay, any other examples? No, okay, this is impossible, come on. Ayşenur shared a comment. She says, things within the order that I observe possible. So the things that I observe in the universe, which are within order, like if I drop a ball, it will fall down. It will not, elevate or go up. So going down is possible. Going up is impossible, I guess. And then Ayşenur, being a philosopher, being absolutely happy in this existence is impossible, she says. Any other examples? Atik, please.
I would say it's impossible for me to exceed my limitations.
exceed your limitations in what regard? Like,
I mean, this could be anything, but I guess physical examples might be
okay,
more
I see.
obvious. Like maybe I'm 5'8" and I can't really. I can probably stretch myself to grow another couple of centimeters, but I don't know how much farther my body can take before I before I damage myself. Right, there are real limitations that are grounding me to what I can and cannot do. Yeah, and Yusuf says I can't beat Usain Bolt, and that is absolutely true. But I could probably beat him in a long distance race. I'll give myself that credit.
Okay, okay, good to know. So, if there are no other examples of impossibility, Ayşenur plus H Beyza impossible. Okay, I'm skipping this part. So don't you have any, practical examples like Atik? There is something that you really want, but think it's impossible. So let me give you an example, okay? So I was talking to a friend. He was, considering me as being more religious than himself because I have a long beard. So he asked me to pray for him. And the content of the prayer he was asking was that, could you please ask God to give me some money so that, I will buy a new house for my family, he said. So I will pray, God will give some money to him, and then he will give the money to his family, and the family will buy a house. So that was the chain. And I said, of course I can pray if you like, but don't you think it would be like a quicker, let's say more direct, if I directly pray for the house for the family rather than money coming to you and then you buying house and so on? He said, and he was serious, he said, don't be ridiculous, this is impossible. Like they cannot have house because they're not working. So somebody like myself has to earn some money to buy the house, otherwise it's impossible. So as I guess going back to Ayşenur's comment, the things are possible when we see some examples of them in this reality. If we experienced them before, or if we know some other people experienced them before, as we call as order, like this is one way of understanding order, not the maybe true way, but the way we approach the order is usually if I see it before, or if it happens all the time, this is something possible. But if I don't see it happening, or if it is, out of order in a real sense, meaning there are some natural laws, or there are some laws or economy, the finance, there are some, equations governing the universe. And if what I want is, it cannot be sustained, cannot be answered by these equations, meaning it is out of limitations of these governing rules of nature, laws of nature. If laws of nature cannot help me, or I cannot utilize them to sustain my need, we call it as impossible. So for instance, if I want my family to have a house to live in, it is a part of the system, like it is part of the universe as I observe, that I work, I earn some money, and then buy a house with this money. But it is not part of the order as I see in the universe that a house coming to existence out of nowhere and my family is starting enjoying it, enjoying living in it. So there are certain possibilities, then there are certain impossibilities. And with impossibility, again, what we mean usually is I cannot model it, or I cannot understand it, or I cannot believe it. So I cannot walk on in the air, for instance, because it's against some certain laws of nature. So for us, at least practically speaking, I'm not talking about a conceptual definition or understanding of possibility or impossibility, but rather what I'm interested in how we understand impossibility or possibility from our practical point of views. And as I said, the way I understand, at least, something is possible or impossible based on the limitations that I impose on the reality. Any comments, questions so far? Maybe you don't agree with my definitions or my understanding. Okay, so let's continue with a case study then. So the first ayah and the second, the last ayah, we will read 5 of them. And the first and the last one, 5th one, will be there just to give some background and context, and maybe more study the middle 3 I will show. So as usual, I need a volunteer to read the Arabic. If Abdurrahman is available, we can enjoy hearing his lovely voice.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن وأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب هنالك دعا زكريا ربه قال ربي هب لي من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وحصورا ونبيا من الصالحين قال ربي أنى يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء قال رب
Just last one, yes.
قال رب اجعل لي آية قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار
جزاكم خيرا. Okay, as I said, the first one is to give us some little background, and also it kind of summarizes what we will study. So this part is actually about another character, Maryam. The last part is important for us. So Zechariah, Maryam, he sees her with a lot of food or risk, any kind of sustenance, and asks, where does it come from? And then she says it is from Allah. Indeed, Allah provides for whom He wills without account. So this part. Inna Allahu yarzuku man yasha'u bighayri hisab. This part is important for us. It's kind of a summary, as I said, of what we're going to discuss. Let me read the entire ayah. So her Lord accepted her with good acceptance and caused her to grow in a good manner, and put her in the care of Zechariah. Every time Zechariah entered upon her in the prayer chamber, Mihrab, he found, from where is it to you? She said, it is from Allah. Indeed, Allah provides for whom He wills without account. So as if telling us that when Allah wants to give something to someone, He gives it, just if the only requirement is whether He wills or not, and without any account. So we can, I guess, take it as in abundance, without like بغير إحسان. Or we can also take it as without any limitation, without any constraints. So this is kind of contradictory to what we understand from possibility or impossibility. So from our understanding that we can ask for, and He may or may not provide it us. But when something is not possible, there is no point of asking even. Right? Nobody would ask for something that he or she thinks impossible. But ayah says Allah provides for whom He wills without account. That's interesting. So I will continue with the following ayahs, but if you have anything to add about this ayah, please go ahead. Or any question? Okay, let's continue then. Is what we're going to discuss today, inshallah, mostly. And it's about asking for something that we think is almost impossible. So this is very interesting. Let me read and we will go over it together. And that Zechariah called upon his Lord, saying, my Lord, grant me from yourself a good offspring. Indeed, you are the hearer of supplication. So he's asking for something, right? My Lord, grant me from yourself, ledunke, a good offspring. Indeed, you are the hearer of supplication. So this from yourself is already giving us some clues, I guess, let me see. Yes, ledunke. Like I'm you, no one else, just from you. And if it happens, it can only happen through you. So asking for something and knowing that you are the hearer of supplication. This is also very important, I guess. I'm just highlighting. So the angels called him while he was standing in prayer in the chamber. Indeed, Allah gives you good tidings of John or Yaqub. Sorry, Yahya. Indeed, Allah gives you good tidings of Yahya, confirming a word from Allah, and honorable, utterly chaste, and a prophet from among the righteous. And then good news, Bushra comes, he's told that, okay, your prayer is accepted, you will get what you need. But his response is very interesting. He said, my Lord, how will I have a boy when I have reached old age and my wife is barren? So this is interesting because he was asking for it, right? He was asking for offspring. And now that he's being told that it is accepted and you will get a boy, he says, but this is not possible. I reached old age, my wife is barren, so it seems impossible, it's out of order, although he asked for it. The angel said, such is Allah, or just like this. He does what he wills. He does what he wills. He said, my Lord, make for me a sign. So as if, okay, I understand you will give me a boy, but I'm still having some difficulty believing it. So give me a sign. He said, he said, your sign is that you will not speak to the people, or I don't know how other scholars interpret this. It could be also taking as, okay, do this, and then you will get your what you wish for. But it says ayah, so it's like a sign. And remember your Lord much and exalt in the evening and the morning. So as I said, let's concentrate on these 3 ayah, inshallah, and then we can further discuss, if time allows, maybe the last ayah. So let's start with your impressions about these 3 ayah. What attracts your attention? Silent today. Is it because of my connection that you having difficulty hearing me, or just you don't like to speak today? You're not in the mood, Okay, so I assume people are shy. So let me start sharing my understanding. By the way, again, if you're having any technical difficulty, because it keep showing me some warning, the Zoom, about my internet connection, just let me know. Oh, Atik says we are keeping tabs on the election results. Great, great. Alhamdulillah. Such a virtuous act. So, okay, let's start. And that at that, Zechariah called upon his Lord, saying, "My Lord, grant me from yourself a good offspring. Indeed, you are the hearer of supplication." So considering what Zechariah, although believes it's not possible, although believes it's out of his limitations, or even, maybe thinking that it's not something granted, it's not something that will be granted. But I have this desire. So this happens to us all the time, right? We have these desires, wishes. Sometimes we try to keep them hidden deep inside. Don't share with anyone, maybe out of a fear of being ridiculed, or just knowing that it's impossible. But being honest yourself, you know that this desire, wish is there. You want something, you want to be successful, you want to be, Yusuf's example, you want to be professor, or I think you want to be physically more masculine. This is what I understood from your comment.
Indeed, that's my
you
deepest
want
desire.
to be powerful, maybe faster, tall. Could you repeat it, please? I couldn't hear.
Oh, sorry. I said, indeed, that is my deepest desire.
Yes. Okay. Some of us want to be more masculine. Some of us want to be, more successful. Some others, have other secret desires, wishes. It's there. But most of the times we don't even share them. We don't even ask for them from God. But in this case, Quran says, like, there is one who is the true hearer of supplication. So as if, like, we can take it this, I guess, in two ways. One thing is, don't think that your secret desire, your secret wish, that you think it's impossible, don't you think it's wasted? Nobody hears it. There is someone who hears everything, all hearing. So it's not wasted, it's heard. You are the hearer of supplication. I guess this is one way to take it, which is, like, to me at least, extremely important. Knowing that somebody hears me out, even the smallest, tiniest wish I have, or the most secret wish I have deep inside, the most impossible desire I keep myself, there's someone who hears. To me, this is really important, because otherwise, having all these, the wishes, desires with us, just wasted. It's very saddening. But there is a hearer of supplication. Another way of taking it, I assume, is as a suggestion, as a guidance, telling us don't think that your desire, don't try to keep them to yourself. Ask for them, because they are there. Your desires, your wishes are placed or planted in you so that they will open the gates of supplication. So do not waste making supplication. Said, ask for Allah for anything. If you lose your shoelace, ask for it from Allah. So I guess what is important here is the supplication itself and being heard. Whether it is sustained, whether it is accepted or not, it's, I guess, it's not that important. At least in this story, Zechariah himself knew or assumed that what he was asking for was not even possible. But it didn't stop him before asking. Because as Quran described, what is important is asking itself, knowing that somebody hears you out. There is someone who listens you. There is someone who hears you. This is what is important. So do not waste your desire, wishes, thinking that, oh, it's not impossible. It's not possible. It's just silly idea. It's just a silly wish. Ayşenur plus H Beyza. So you have to help me because there are some words that I cannot pronounce properly. They say sometimes, I don't know what it means, sorry. I'm thinking about how Zechariah asks for something and then is surprised that it can be granted. The process of asking is sometimes just as fulfilling as receiving that which we ask. It is again, catharsis, a way of being heard and validated. Okay, somebody help me out. Thank you. I will not give the name. Please, Ayşenur and H. Beyza.
Yeah, you actually beat me to the punch. You said it just as I was typing it, but I typed it out anyway. It's basically exactly what you were just saying, that the process of asking is a catharsis, and by catharsis I mean it's a relieving almost mechanism or avenue through which, you know, I express something that as a human being I feel the need for, even though I may not think that it is possible. But it's not important whether it's possible or not. It's more about a matter of just kind of getting it out of my system. So I may kind of, you know, ask to retire at the age of 24 into a nice village by the mountains and sea. Do I really expect it? Or maybe even necessarily want it to be possible? I don't know. But it's about you know, the need behind it. In a sense, you know, asking for an offspring is asking for a relationship with someone that you can express love to, or maybe for others, a way to make sure your lineage is continued. Or, you know, just entering into some sort of compassionate relationship. Asking for a retirement at a village is asking for peace. You know, we kind of sometimes speak in these ways in which again, it's just the word speech itself is this way through which we try to make sense of ourselves, or I try to make sense of myself. And I say, what is it that I'm really asking for? I feel this specific need, and it seems like these words in this form within the conditions of this life is the way in which I can actually vocalize this need. So I thought, as you highlighted, I was just thinking that it's you know, I never really focused on this. I've seen these verses before, but yeah, he asks for something, then there's this contrast between him asking for it and then being, wait, what? And you know, it's not, you know, I know that at least I think I know that I'm, you know, asking from an absolute creator, when I ask for certain things, but I still expect a certain order, and even within that. So it's just, again, repeating what I said. It's a process of being heard, being known, being fulfilled, that my needs are just being heard by someone. Isn't that why we pay so much money for therapy bi-weekly? Yeah, so that's what I meant. Thank you.
Oh, Jazakallah khairan. Okay, now it was much clearer. And okay, Abdurrahman, probably he will disagree with what being said so far. Please go ahead, Abdurrahman.
Assalamu alaikum. No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm just my thoughts. I found it interesting. So it first starts with Zakaria sees Maryam alayhi salam and sees her with some bounties, and he gets surprised and he's like, "Where is this from?" And she says it's from God. And what he immediately does after that is he makes prayer. He makes prayer asking from his creator, grant me also some amazing things like this. Like this reminds me of when I might see someone in a very enviable state, or I see someone with so much bounty in their life from my perspective, and I envy it. And maybe this leads to like jealousy, or I don't know, maybe frustration, or why can't I have it, complaining. But I see that the Prophet Zakaria, he immediately turned to supplication. He asked from his creator as well. And then the way I read the next couple of verses is this angel comes and says, okay, it will be granted. And there's like a surprise, or there's like a, how is it going to happen? More than surprise, like I don't think he's like surprised of the power or the fact that it can happen, because if you're asking, you believe that the one you're asking from has that power. Even if you don't believe maybe it's going to be created, you believe he still has that power. But like, how will it happen when I have reached old age and my wife is barren? And the way I read this is, you are asking for something from your creator, and maybe when you're asking, just like your friend was asking, Brother Birkan, for a house, he was saying, I must get more money, then I must get a house. There is such an order in this world. And if I want to be happy, then I must get more money, I must get a house, and I must get a car, and then that's the only way I'm ever going to be happy. That's maybe the way, those are the steps we see our life in, that a bounty must be given to us. But then here, I see it as this bounty will be given to you, but you see that you don't have the money, you don't have the house, you don't have the car, but you're still going to be given, let's say, happiness. And you're like, how is this going to happen? And it is God does as he wills. This is how I read this: is you ask, and in your mind you have like a setup of how it needs to happen. And the thing is, the order of things is not necessary for them to happen in that pattern or that step as you thought. And it doesn't, the angels are just saying that God does as he wills. Those are my thoughts.
Jazakallah khairan. We have Yusuf, but before that, Atik shared a comment. Is it validation only when your prayers is granted? Is it validation only when your prayer is granted, or by just being heard? So I think I'm getting what is at the core of this comment. But I think if you like to elaborate it a little bit, please go ahead, and then Yusuf can take the mic after you.
Sure. So this was in response to Aishanor's comment where she says the process of just asking is a catharsis, a way of being heard and validated. I was asking about this validation because to me it seems more dependent on whether your prayer is answered or not. But it could be a form of validation in and of itself, which is why I wanted clarification.
Okay, let's hear from Yusuf, and then we can discuss about this even more, because I'm sure Yusuf will disagree with some parts, and then discussion will be heated. Let's see.
So, like the first verse that you shared was mentioning Maryam alayhi salam. So, since like as it is being tied to like Zakaria alayhi salam is having this conversation or observing righteousness of Maryam in here. So he observes that she is doing some sort of prayer and she is being provided from unexpected places. So it feels like she is a good servant of the Creator, like because she is being the recipient of some extraordinary treatment from the Creator. So this is like good hope. And at the beginning of Surah Maryam, which is chapter number 19, so the same story is being narrated in a little bit of a more depth. In there, we see that Zakaria alayhi salam is worried about his people. Like Zakaria alayhi salam is working in the temple, like he is a prophet, but in the temple there are other scholars, like other children of Israel, and they are apparently misguiding people. And at the beginning of Surah Maryam, Zakaria alayhi salam explains that he is worried about what will happen after he go, because he's afraid about his people. So he is asking from his Creator for a wali, like in the Surah Maryam, the word that is being used is wali, like somebody to support him. And in this chapter, now the part that you are showing us, at this sort of a environment, let's say, he is observing Maryam. And this is something to give a person hope, because now that you are seeing someone from your family, not your offspring, Maryam is not his offspring, but he is observing that at least there is some glimpse of a light. Like, okay, this is a yes, little girl, but she is growing up, like ambataha nabatan hasanan. So she is growing up, but she's on the right track apparently. So it's a source of hope. And along this hope, he is opening his hand and asking for, I mean, knowing, I'm going to read it in a different way than you did. So just to disagree with you. So he is opening his hand and asking for a progeny afterwards. So in such a situation, for example, I put myself in his shoes. If I know that I am too old, my wife is barren, but if I see a relative of mine who has some apparent potentiality, I would be hopeful and when open my hands and ask for my Creator, give me someone from yourself, like asking to the Creator for some offspring. But offspring also can be understood in the sense that somebody from this family, this lineage, or somebody to become part of that family. It doesn't need to be like, you know, you get married with someone, that someone becomes part of your family. It might even be adopting a child or something, but somebody to carry over this flag of prophethood in a sense. But it might be that he's not expecting this to come, since explicitly he says, give it to me from yourself. So asking it to the Creator, he is aware that he's not going to be the source of that. But when the angels come and give the good news that you are going to be given a ghulam, like the thing that you were asking is going to be a ghulam, a child that's going to be given to you. He was expecting maybe that help to come in a different format. He was not expecting this help to come from his own family, like from his wife. Maybe he was expecting it to be the child of Maryam, or expecting to be the Maryam herself, but not his own child. But he was sincerely asking for such a thing, knowing that it's not going to happen from him anyways, because of his age, and he has as if lost hope in terms of such a person being raised from his own family in terms of being child. But still he's asking. He knows that this is the need. It must be fulfilled because his people are not on the right track. But then Glad Tidings comes and says, it's going to be from your family. I'm going to give it to you and your wife, from which you and your wife very well know that a child cannot come. Just to confirm you that you very well know that it's not going to be from you. Now that I'm giving it to you, you will still know very well that it's me who is giving it to you. It cannot be from you. You already know this in the first place, right? But since you were sincerely asking for it, for a help, I'm going to give that help to you again in a very very extraordinary way. So I guess this might be another way of reading this, because generally what happens is I open my hands, as you were actually saying, the example that you gave, this friend is saying that I want a house for my parents, very sincerely asking for this house, but it doesn't occur to him that in any shape or form it can happen other than, I don't know, some external person showing up and giving them money. Like just to, I don't know, it's not the best example maybe, but then eventually they find out that, let's say an earthquake happens and under their house comes out, I don't know, a bucket of gold, something like this, something that is coming from totally unexpected place, but from under their own house, let's say. So these are the sort of thing, I guess, is happening in here, just to make sure that the creator says, I am giving it to you directly in a way that you would never expect.
Jazakallah khairan. Any other comments, questions? Ayşenur H. Beyza, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for all the comments so far. I was just thinking about also the aspect of how in asking for something, even if it seems impossible to me as far as the order, the established order within the universe is concerned, in doing so, I'm not imposing a limitation on the source of my existence, on the absolute. If I said, no, this is impossible because, the order doesn't allow it, for example, then I would be assuming that things have a horizontal relationship between them and have a causal relationship within them, within the universe. So in other words, in praying in such a way or in asking in such a way, I am not limiting the orderer to the order within the universe. And this is essential for me to recognize because my own human desires cannot be satisfied by the established order that I experience as well. Just as I have a desire for eternal life, and nothing within the order can meet that. So the desire within me looks to the necessary existence of the absolute, and the one that can meet my needs, regardless of whether or not I am given an offspring at an old age while my wife is barren. So it doesn't really matter what my situation is, but rather the recognition that comes from making that, the recognition that comes from being in that form or in that position of asking, and recognizing that I am not tied to the causal relationship that I might immediately perceive within the universe, and that the existence of the desire for such a thing within me necessarily points to the existence of an absolute being who can fulfill that need. Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan. So yes, I agree. It's really important to remind myself that I'm asking from the one who within his wheels lies everything. So going back to Atik's question and also comments of Ashanur, so this catharsis of or as now I understand as emotional discharge. So I would be careful with understanding supplication as such. Like it doesn't matter it happens or not. It's not important whether I'm heard or not. I'm just, just relief. I'm doing it for relief. I have this desire, I have this wish, and it shouldn't stay inside. So I should, let it go. And I will do supplication for that because I'm a Muslim. I'm a, Islamic person. Whatever I do is so religious. So I will do supplication. Some others do art, for instance, as a way of emotional discharge. So let's say I have fear or again, a desire. And instead of keeping it inside, I'm just writing poems. Or as a religious person, I'm making supplication. So I'm not claiming that anybody, understood or meant this way, just to highlight, I guess, that at least the way this connection between I'm making a supplication and whether it is granted or not, there is a disconnection. So I'm not making supplication so that something will be given to me. That's for sure. But at the same time, I'm not doing supplication for the sake of, being relieved of my fears or my, distracting or disturbing emotions. It's not a way of, it's not like meditation. Okay, let's be practical. You are the hearer of supplication part, I guess, at the core of supplication. I do supplication because I want to be heard. I do supplication because I want to experience being heard. Being with my Creator in His presence. This is the reason I do supplication. You are the hearer of supplication. Whether it is granted or not, it would be completely another creation, another nima, risk, sustenance for me. But if it's not granted, it doesn't mean that my supplication was not accepted, because it is heard. If I know that it is being heard, that's the acceptance of supplication for me. So anyway, I just wanted to, highlight this difference in my understanding and this. Okay, let's continue. We don't have much time. So I'd like to also share my maybe final comments on the such as Allah, He does what He wills part. So this is really interesting for me. When I face with something impossible or something very hard, however you take it, the response from Quran is kazalike, such as that, that is the case, or just like this. If Allah wills, then it happens. If He doesn't will, it does not happen. There is no such thing as natural laws, or there is no such thing as constraining limitations. The possibility or impossibility is out of question now. We can take this as something miraculous, like we can take this ayah as talking about a miraculous thing. Like in normal life, there is an order and we have to stick with the orders, you know, what happens, what not happens. What happens or what does not happen is determined by the order. But from time to time, God would interfere with the order and make a miracle. We can take it that way. We can take it as God is so powerful, even that He can, you know, violate the order. We can take it that way. Or we can take this kazalika part, such as that, such as Allah part, as giving us something generic, something general. Saying that, Birkan, whatever happens in your life, you may see an order that is there for sure, but it doesn't tell you that what happens is limited by the order. It just comes into place like in the creation, reflecting an order. But other than that, everything happens, whatever happens in your life is just out of a will and nothing else. So you can hear me, not because it is necessary, you know, the fact of the universe or the nature within the certain state of affairs. The one Birkan, you know, moves his diaphragm and use his mouth in a certain way. The sound waves reaches the microphone, and you know, the digital signal is transmitted, so on and so forth. And I'm hearing it. Hear him because God wills so. And this is the true reality, true nature of the existence. So as if this ayah is destroying the distinction between possible and impossible, but reformulating things as what is given, what is not given. Because it's not given to you, it's not Allah's will, or you will be a professor, and this is the exact formula, this is the true formulation of what happens and what does not happen. I know this is very, what is the word? Not revolutionary, but something, you know, hard to believe. But at least this is the guidance, this is the offering from Quran. This is at least how I understand. So this is all from my side today. So if you like to share your comments, if you want to say anything about the other parts of the ayahs or other ayahs, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can conclude today. Okay, nothing I see. Okay, let's conclude today then, so that people go back to watching election results.
I have one.
I think, please go ahead.
there's one thing that's deeper in my desires than me becoming more masculine and stronger and powerful. And that is, I don't know if I should be making this prayer. You guys can help me out. It's that, you know, it's to pray for Bernie to become president. Is that too much? It's not beyond the limits of Allah's ability, but I know that it's a lot to ask for.
I think, again, the object, or let's say the goal of the supplication, is being with your Creator in His presence. Otherwise, the content or object of the desire is not the goal. Asking for having a longer beard, or becoming successful, or just the shoelace. What is common and what is more important, most important, is that you are asking from your Lord. You are accepting, you are acknowledging that whatever comes, it comes from Him. My Lord, grant me from yourself. This acknowledgement, and also knowing that this desire, whatever you wish, bigger muscles, it's being implanted in you by Him again. It is there so that you will not be lost in your life. You will be, wasting your time watching the election results, not thinking about yourself. But then this desire, this wish, comes and says, don't you think a bigger muscle would be good for you? And you leave these stupid election results and say, yes, I want muscles. And now you are in His presence. You now asking for it. You realize your need. You acknowledge that your need can be sustained by only Him. And you know that if He wants to, if He wills to create, it will be there. This acknowledgement, I guess, what makes supplication a supplication. And the rest is just, what is given to us. Like whether I ask for muscle or long hair, it's usually not my choice. It's there. I just find it to be there inside me. But how I use it, I have fear, for instance. Fear is there out of my choice most of the time. But how I use it? Do I use it as a path to my Lord's presence, or I just waste it? Try to treat it, for instance. I guess this is the important part, at least the way I understand. Any other comments? Okay, Jazakallah khairan, everyone. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. الفاتحة.